What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk Punch, the place where we talk about all those nerdy things you love talking about. Thanks so much for joining us. While you're here, make sure you go ahead and like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, do all the stuff, so that you'll be notified when a new episode comes out every Wednesday at noon to see what we're talking about. Kind of like this week's episode, we're talking WandaVision. I am Brody Hanson, joined, as always, by Charlie Hickman. Charlie, how's it going?
I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I am tired. It has been a couple of sleepless nights with the youngster.
Oh, man.
I'm looking down at him. It's like 3:30 in the morning. I'm holding him in my arms. He's looking up at me going, you're not sleeping tonight, buddy. You're not sleeping tonight.
I remember those days.
Right. True to his word. I am on fumes, but I am fueled and powered by coffee.
There you go.
My wife has a sign in the kitchen that says, "Some days you make the coffee, someday the coffee makes you." Today, the coffee is making me. So, but I'm excited to talk
always a good day to record when you're
right
on like minutes of sleep.
So if I start rambling, just tell me to slap myself, and I'll just kind of slap out of it with a little, or if I just trail off like when we used to play Mario Kart, and all of a sudden my little Mario character would be
just right against the wall. Just against the wall. Look over, and there's Charlie just asleep on his controller.
just shout my name, and I'll wake right up.
Yeah, I'll be going over like episode 4, and I'll be looking over, and you'll just be. Can't wait. All right, Charlie. WandaVision just finished up this past Friday.
Correct.
So this was Disney Plus's first big Marvel TV show. We got the big Mandalorian Star Wars TV show, and then they said, let's do some Marvel also. Now, this was originally supposed to be later in the lineup, but because of all the COVID stuff, it kind of got pushed to the front of the line. So it's pretty interesting that this is kind of setting off this new phase when before where we had like Black Widow was scheduled to be ahead of it, Falcon Winter Soldier was scheduled to be ahead of it, and Eternals was scheduled to be ahead of it. So you had 4 pretty big movies setting up a lot of this stuff. And now it's like WandaVision's our starting point. So as I was reading about WandaVision, I stumbled across a number that was the budget. Mm-hmm. If you had to guess how much this show cost per episode, how much would you think?
I would say around $25 million.
Oh my goodness. Did you read that?
Is that right?
It is right.
Guess in the dark.
Yeah, no, that was right.
Wow.
It was right.
So what I did is there was 9 episodes, and I was thinking, what would the budget have been if this was a feature-length film of this? And then I divided that quickly by 9 in my head, and it turned out to about 25. So there you go.
I was thinking I would stump you.
A little bit of vision in here.
One. I thought I'd stump you. Now, so I was like, that seems very expensive.
Yeah.
For a less than 30-minute most episodes.
Right.
And so I looked it up. Now, Mandalorian cost about $15 million an episode. Game of Thrones on its last season, which was the most expensive, was about $15 million an episode. So they're looking at $25 million. And those were both like hour-long shows. And this is half-hour-long shows that are costing $25 million. And I guess Falcon Winter Soldier is going to be the same way, about $25 million. It was about $200 million like total budget, which that's wild, man. That's wild. I also looked up, okay, what is like a normal TV show? So I looked up The Flash.
Sure.
Flash is $2 million an episode, and that's CW. They have like 24 episode seasons. But they're like 24 1-hour episodes. So that was mind-boggling to me that this costs so much money. Yeah.
Well, you're not getting Kat Dennings for anything less than $20 million, so she doesn't roll out of bed for that. It's got to
It's true.
You got to pay.
It really, it's pretty eye-opening on how much Disney is banking on Disney Plus with all this stuff. That they're dumping $200 million into a TV show that's just on their streaming service. You know, they don't want to release Black Widow on streaming. They are determined to put that into theaters. So
here's the thing with budgets, bro. If they did this, so if the makers of this came in and said, you know what, we can do this show, but we only need $100 million, then the next one they make, their budget's going to be at $100 million or less. This is like the surplus at the end of of an office fiscal year. It's like we gotta spend this money, or the studio won't realize that we don't need this money. So they're like, all right, look, movies cost about $225 million, so we got to make sure that this show costs the same, so we're all getting paid the same. So the directors, the producers, we're all walking away with the same kind of cashish. We're getting the same. The actors are getting paid, and then that way the Disney knows it's going to cost, movies or TV shows, it's going to cost about the same. I don't know why I'm giving you De Niro right now, but I'm doing a little bit. But I am.
And that's your businessman.
You want a movie? You want a TV show? It's gonna cost you the same. $225. Get over here. So that's my theory.
It was also another thing I read that was interesting was that every episode had the same director, which is very uncommon for TV shows. Yeah. Normally, they all had different writers, but they had the same director for the whole thing, which I thought was very interesting.
That is interesting.
Okay, so Charlie, to start out with, so you binged this.
I did.
I watched this week to week. So I would watch this every Friday night or so. And then I would have a week to read all the theories and watch all the videos and ponder what might happen. How was your experience binging this?
I thought I did. Part when Brody and I were talking about doing, before WandaVision debuted, we knew we're going to do a wrap-up show. So I did think it would be interesting to have two different experiences with the show. So I didn't have any of that. I avoided spoilers. I didn't want to hear about it. I didn't want to read about it. I didn't talk to you about it, other than just like, hey, you like it so far? And you're like, yes. I'm like, oh, it's too much. You've said too much. So I know. It was impossible to avoid some of there was some negativity after the first few episodes, that just like some palpable negativity on Twitter or whatever. I didn't read spoilers about it, but I just could feel that some people were confused by what happened. Sure. So I was anticipating that when I watched the first few episodes, I'm like, okay, maybe it's different than what I'm expecting it to be. I was not disappointed, and we'll talk about my precise feelings for the various elements of this TV show, but I really liked binging it. It's a binging world, my friend. Instead of waiting a week to find out what happens, I click that button and I find out right away. It was very nice indeed. But living with it, I'm sure was great for a week. Did you read a lot of fan theories?
I did.
The fan theories.
I did. I was, I've got my YouTube channels that are breaking down, every episode and having an hour-long conversation on the 22-minute episode, on what is what and who is what and why is what and what is what, and everything. And that was, I really enjoyed that.
Did that set you up for any kind of disappointment with the finale? Yeah, it did. You could see it, folks. You saw that. Rewind it and pause his face when I asked that question. You're gonna see the moment. A little bit of heartbreak in there, a little bit of pain.
I don't think so. I don't think I was disappointed. Honestly, I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I mean, really, this was a series that you start and you have no clue what this series is going to be. Even watching the trailers, before it came out, you're like, I don't know. There's all these time periods. It's all the, you know,
Right.
like obviously you're going through like different shows, but why and how and, you know, what is happening and who are these characters, and yes, there were a lot of theories on, is there a bigger bad guy, you know, especially as we, you know, got further into the series of all this stuff, all the name drops and clues and stuff like that. But I don't think I was disappointed. I was happy with the way everything turned out. See, it's interesting that you said you read some negativity on the first couple episodes. I think I've heard more negativity on the finale. But I really enjoyed that too. And
Yeah, we'll get into this more, but I think that this show is really interesting in that you could be someone who came to this thinking, okay, good, Marvel's going to do something that isn't Marvel. It's going to be different. And you watch those first like handful of episodes and it's exciting. It's like, I don't know what's happening. It's interesting, but whatever it is, it's different. And then episode 4 hits and then rolls into the ending and it's like, okay, no, they're just doing Marvel. And the other side of that is if you're going into episode 1 going, all right, here we go, Marvel on TV, let's go, give me Marvel. And then you watch those first few episodes, you're like, this isn't Marvel. You know, what is this? I Love Lucy? Come on, what is this?
yeah.
And then you're going to be disappointed. So depending on your expectations of what the show is going to be, and certainly if you had more, I didn't have time for expectations. You know, like it's like, oh, they didn't put Catherine Hahn's character on the board there. I bet she's important later. She's probably a villain of some kind. And then on to the next episode. Don't need to think about it. Let's go. You know, I'm like, oh, maybe Doctor Strange plays a role, or maybe there's another villain. I don't know. Let's go to the next episode. Let's find out. So like, I didn't have that time to like really build up theories in my mind and get excited. And so it's just kind of like, all right, let's go to the next. I mean, granted, I didn't watch it like all in one day. We spread it over a few days, but all over the weekend. Well, it's just schedule, man, and with the kid, it's look, my oldest son was not to the first 3 episodes at all. I was just like, this is like, what is this? But after episode 4, man, his eyes were big, and he was like, he came looking for Marvel, and once he found it, he was like, okay, Dad, let's put on the next episode. Let's do this. You know, but the first 3, he was just like, Dad, what is this? What is this adult garbage that you're, you know, what? He doesn't know what a laugh. What's with the laugh track? What's going on? What's a laugh track, old man? What is this nonsense? But I guess we can talk a little bit more of that because we're going to go episode by episode.
Yeah. So let's go episode by episode. We'll kind of give thoughts. We'll give kind of what we were thinking going into the episode. You know, overall thoughts. Just episode by episode. Full spoiler warning. We're going to talk about everything. So if you haven't seen it, go watch it and then come back. And then finish watching.
And if you don't have Disney Plus, send Brody a message. He will send you his login to watch WandaVision. He'll change it shortly after, but just go ahead and hit him up. He's got you covered. And if you need any of the other streaming services, let him know. And remember, our contest is still live to win a night in Brody's guest room. So make sure you hit him up and let him know that you're interested in the full package, the full Brody suite, and all of its accoutrements. Episode 1, right? Is that what you're saying?
All right. Episode 1. So filmed before a live studio audience. So we have the I Love Lucy, Dick Van Dyke, black and white. We kind of get the introductions. It's all very hokey and laugh tracky. What were your initial thoughts going into this episode?
So before I watched episode 1, you know, I'd seen a couple of like little teasers, and I kind of had, you know, they basically hinted that there was going to be like this kind of homage to sitcoms past, at least in the beginning. And so I went in very excited to see that because, you know, look, I'm not Dick Van Dyke old, but you know, I did watch a lot of Nick at Night. We've talked about that on here before and privately. I grew up on a lot of these old television shows, so this was great for me. This is like revisiting old friends. You know, a lot of the old tropes, the old boss coming to dinner. You know,
What a weird
what do we
thing.
even make here? You know, so great, right? And the wife doesn't know, so hilarity ensues. I mean,
Yeah.
it's classic old school sitcom stuff. The bed's apart, you know, because standards was like, oh, we can't show married people next to each other in bed.
That was the next episode.
I know.
We didn't
it's
see
all
the
blurred
bedroom
together.
yet. They were not in the first one.
That's true. It was fun. I thought it was really like a clever, the first 3 episodes, and I guess we'll kind of spread it across these. I just thought were really clever and really well written, and like did a really nice job, like giving you just enough to kind of go, okay, what's this mystery that's building, while simultaneously just really like doing a great job of parroting old classic television shows.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's what I really appreciated with the early episodes, is just all the setup on like what is going on. You know, you get these hints. You get like you've got the old aspect ratio, but then every once in a while it kind of breaks that when something changes. You know, you get the boss's wife, you know, with her kind of breaking down as she's just saying stop that just over and over again, which was a weird thing. You know, you're watching this and you're like, okay, I'm following along. I don't understand like really what's going on, you know, and then that moment hits and you're like, what is going on? You know? And then you get the introduction of Catherine Hahn's character, Agnes.
And she's so great.
She is great.
Catherine Hahn's great. The whole cast, by the way, really great.
Yeah, really good cast. And so you get introduced to all this stuff. It was interesting that the boss was in this episode and then never came back. Did you notice that?
Well, he's kind of a big deal, so it probably cost too much money to get a second appearance.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, his wife was around.
She was like in the finale, and the face in the crowd. He's the boss. He's not supposed to be around.
She was around. I thought it was interesting that he was there, and then he was never seen again. I don't know. So, but yeah, so that episode set up a lot of stuff. We get the commercial, our first taste of the commercials. So we had the toaster with the blinking
the
Stark toaster. What's it called? Arc reactor kind of sound. No, like the sound.
A toaster, Brody. A toaster.
Yeah, I know.
You're welcome.
So those continued to get interesting.
Yeah, those were kind of fun.
Yeah.
At one point we were watching and Amy's like, I miss commercials.
Whoa. Really? I don't.
I think it was during maybe episode 3 or 4. Yeah, there was not 4, but 3, maybe 3 or 5.
Yeah. I mean, if you had one like 10-second commercial like these, then sure. But man, TV now, it's like, God, it's every 5 minutes you get 5 minutes worth of commercials. It's horrible.
What are you doing watching live TV? Get out of here. Get out of here with that. I can't even stand the 5 seconds of YouTube before I have to skip the ad. No offense, YouTube. Please don't punish us. Watch all the YouTube ads.
It's true.
Watch every one.
Okay, so that was episode 1. I enjoyed this. I had no idea what was going on, but I knew that, we're just kind of setting the foundation for all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. And then we went on to episode 2, so Don't Touch That Dial. So this was the Bewitched episode.
Yeah, get into the 60s.
Mm-hmm. And so this is where we get the separated beds. We get the scary noises outside that ends up being a tree. More kind of hokey. This was a lot more slapsticky. This is where we get, Vision chewing gum that then goes down into his gears, and he acts like he's drunk the whole episode. And they have
the best line of the whole series in this one, where guy goes, "That was my grandmother's piano."
Man, that guy, I wish he was around more. He had some great lines.
Great.
He had some great. He had another one where in episode 3 that was a great one where all the power goes out and he's like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, David Langle, I believe, is how you say his name.
I don't know what else he's been in, but he was hilarious every time he showed up.
He was in Bosch, but yeah,
I never saw Bosch.
He's in Coming to America. He's
is he really?
Sequel. Oh. Yeah, so I know that's one that you're excited for. So
I do want to watch that.
Okay, well, when you see him, you'll be like, all right, it all ties together, bro. It's all part of the same tapestry.
Sweet. Okay, so and then in Don't Touch That Die, we've got the magic show. Boy, was that a thing back in the day? It was just like random like neighborhood talent shows that people would do.
Yeah, any sort of like easily contrived plot device. Absolutely, Man. I mean, and other shows have parodied it. Like, oh man, we need $22 to save the whatever, and it's like, oh, whoa, look, a talent show where you can win $22 for first place. What are the odds? And then you go through it. So yeah, I mean, back in the day, simple problems with equally simple solutions. Brody, I watched a show called Patty Duke on Nick at Night about identical twin cousins. It didn't make any sense. They're identical twins, but they're cousins, identical cousins, can't you see? They look alike, they talk alike, sometimes they even walk alike. They're two of a kind.
Oh my goodness.
But they're cousins, not sisters. No, just twins and cousins. Yeah, it was super weird. But yeah, come on. It didn't have to make sense back then. It just had to make you feel good. Like the Honeymooners, where if you wanted to punch your wife, that was the show you watched. One of these days, Alice, abuse to the moon.
Oh man. All right, so in this episode, we also got the commercial for this one was the Strucker watch. Yes, so calling back to
ominous ticking.
Yeah, calling back to Wanda's time working with Hydra and Baron von Strucker, who died way too quickly. He died way too quickly. You didn't even see it. You didn't even see him murder. He was there, he got arrested, and then they showed like a picture of his cell and he was dead. And it was like,
but he lives on now in commercials. So.
Baron von Strucker is a pretty big guy in the comic books to just off screen. But anyways,
like Jimmy Olsen and
oh man,
BVS.
So what else? So we got more mystery stuff. This is the episode that we got the helicopter.
Right.
So the helicopter in color. That was kind of like, what is that? What does that mean? It's got the sword logo.
Got the sword on it.
Which is the first time we saw the sword logo. This is also the episode where we got the beekeeper, where he comes out of those sewers, and then Wanda just says no, and then everything just rewinds, and so you get this, you're getting more insight into, okay, so Wanda is kind of controlling this stuff.
Right. This is our first introduction to Geraldine, correct?
Is it? Yes. Yes, it is. She was the one that
they was assisting with the magic show, and they were talking.
Yeah. She came out of the wardrobe thing that they had.
Yes.
Was this where they had the women community thing?
Yeah, they were chatting around, and the radio with the we had the radio message from, at the time we didn't know who it was, but we find out later that it's Jimmy Woo, FBI agent Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man and the Wasp. I love him.
He's great.
Jimmy, I know you're watching, because as I'm a big fan of yours, you're a big fan of ours, and
it's true.
I want to take you out for a beer, young man. You and we need to hang out, because I am a big fan of yours.
So what were your thoughts on this episode, Charlie?
This was another fun one. There's everyone's personality is a little different, and there are people who always feel uncomfortable not knowing what's happening, like just having no idea what's happening. That can be very disorienting, and it can be upsetting at times for people. That's not my personality. I enjoy the mystery. I didn't know like what direction they were going to go, and I was just excited to be along for the ride. So for me, there was no angst about it, and maybe that was because I knew I could just click to the next episode when it was done. So you know, sure, maybe my experience was different, but it didn't bother me that they weren't like progressing a story, like a linear story, and that they were just kind of giving you these little subtle hints. In fact, it was quite the opposite. I just thought it was really neat that they were doing something different, and
Sure.
and it felt enjoyable to watch something that this is stuff that I enjoyed as a youth. These are some of these sitcom tropes. And I thought it was funny. I thought the magic show was very funny.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Bettany is like hysterical, and just the whole thing was really well done. And it didn't bother me that it was like this slow burn we talk about on here a lot, just like setting the stage and not trying to rush into answers.
Sure.
And there's shows like Lost that do that, where they're like kind of like where I feel like they didn't know how it was going to end necessarily before they started. So they present the mystery really well, but then they don't really have like a great plan on how to reveal it. And then the mystery they build the mystery up too much. So the mystery there's no ending that will be satisfactory because the mystery is taken on too much of a life. And so the nice thing with the 9 episodes, there wasn't really time to make the mystery so compelling that whatever answer they get, and it's a very straightforward answer by the end. Yeah. But to be disappointed. So this was great. It was the right amount of build for me, the right amount of like allusions to the mystery, the right amount of kind of pushing that story to get me excited to click that like next episode button, but also just kind of like enjoying whatever I'm watching. I'm just enjoying it, and no rush, no need to rush to the next one.
Yeah. One thing that did also happen in this was one of the times that it was during the women council thing where Dottie says the devil's in the details, and then Agatha or Agnes says that's not the only place he is. And so in all of my theory videos, that was one that people pointed out a lot as one of the big guesses on the main bad guy was going to be Mephisto, who's essentially like the devil of the Marvel Universe. Was Agnes working for Mephisto, and is Mephisto going to end up being, the big bad of this series?
Are we ready to have the talk about the name Mephisto and how that's not a great name?
Why not? What's wrong with Mephisto?
Mephisto.
It's not Mephisto. It's Mephisto.
Mephisto ready to fix in a little bit of Mephisto's ready to fight. All right, no, you're right. It's a great name. No? All right. Mephisto!
Was that something you picked up on? Did you pick up on that?
Look, anytime there's a larger name, side character that has not been in a show before, whether it's like you're watching Saving Private Ryan and Matt Damon has yet to make an appearance, and you're like, oh, well, he's going to be Ryan, and they keep finding these, other guy. You're like, that's not him because it's not Matt Damon and he hasn't been in the movie yet. So you bring in Kathryn Hahn, and she's awesome. She's just so talented. You think, okay, she's not going to just be another neighbor here. So she's going to have a bigger role. So just from like jump, and then there's like little subtle things. I wasn't familiar with Mephisto. So I wasn't thinking, oh man, she's probably an agent of Mephisto. But I did
just like her overall, were you picking up on her being something bigger?
Yeah, and then I think it was episode 4 where they're starting to like identify people from the town, and they didn't put her picture up, and I was like, okay, well then so I look at Amy, I'm like, okay, she's the villain, because they identified all the other people with IDs and names and stuff, and they had nothing on her. I'm like, okay, all right, well there you go. But I didn't know how that would play out, and so I don't, look, I don't need to be these spoiler theories that you like to indulge yourself in. I like a little surprise. I try not to overthink things too much while I'm watching them, which is one of the reasons I like to binge versus like leaving like things alone for too long, because then I tend to overthink things. I'm gonna analyze this. So,
Gotcha.
me think
Okay, so at the end of that episode, then they move into color.
yes,
which then
as
brings,
did Bewitched. And a lot of the sitcoms of that era.
Yeah.
Hello.
Which moved into episode 3, now in color. So this was the like Brady Bunch episode.
Yeah.
Things were still pretty kooky.
Partridge Family. Yes.
Partridge Family. Yeah, all that stuff.
Very kooky.
We also, in the last episode, Wanda was revealed to be pregnant, and so that was kind of the focus of this episode, was her pregnancy, as she was getting pregnant very rapidly, and getting bigger and bigger, like by the minute. We had the doctor come in, and then we never saw the doctor again. And then we had more Geraldine, and so more involvement there. This we had the episode. Well, so we had the doctor come in, examine Wanda, and then he left. He was going to go on vacation, and then Wanda keeps getting bigger and progressing the pregnancy further. More things kind of as contractions are getting stronger, more is happening, power outages, things like that. And then when Vision goes to grab the doctor, that's when Geraldine shows up, and then Wanda ends up giving birth to the boys, Tommy and Billy, Speed and Wiccan in the comic books. And so then that's when we get kind of a Geraldine break where they're talking, and Wanda says that she had a twin brother, and Geraldine kind of says he was killed by Ultron. And then, you're kind of, more things are kind of getting revealed at this point. You're kind of like, okay, something's going on, because now we're actually referencing the greater Marvel universe. We also got the weird stuff with, the neighbor outside. What was his name? What was the neighbor
Herb?
who was Herb? Yeah, we got him kind of breaking as well when he was sawing through like the concrete stuff. We had more Agnes and her kind of break where Herb is about to say something and she kind of cuts him off, which was odd. Yeah, and then at the end of this one, we have Geraldine kind of flying through the city and out through the hex, and it's revealed that there's all of this military. Yeah, there's military all over the place. So, and then that kind of leaves a big cliffhanger there. This was a good one. I think this one, if I was like ranking stuff, I think this one was just kind of fine. I don't know. Thinking back to it, it's kind of like, other than the pregnancy stuff, I never watched like Brady the Bunch and stuff like that. And so,
I'm sorry, did you just call it Brady and the Bunch?
Brady Bunch. Did I call it Brady and the Bunch?
You called it Brady and the Bunch.
I know what the Brady Bunch.
You don't have to have ever watched an episode to know that it's not Brady and the Bunch.
I know it's Brady.
I'd watch Brody and the Bunch as a show I would watch.
I'll tell you a little personal story. I used to get teased a lot because people used to say the Brody Bunch. It really hurt my feelings.
All right, that's always a good thing to admit on the internet. No one leave Brody Bunch comments below. Brody and the Bunch.
Don't point it out. My goodness.
I didn't. No, I didn't. Look, I had to deal with Charlie and Chocolate Factory. You could deal with the Brody Bunch.
That's true.
I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was very funny. I thought it was just like this whole series run is like full of these little tiny subtle details. Like the attention to detail, I think, is just fantastic. We're having Wanda wearing the oversized clothes and putting like plants in front of her, different objects to hide her pregnancy, like they would do on sitcoms with a woman who was pregnant and they didn't want to admit it on the show. Some shows go a different way, like Frasier, when they just she's just eating a lot of food and she's gained a lot of weight. Daphne's she's just fat now, which it's still like I think the worst way I've ever seen a pregnancy handled on a television show. But I thought that just like little details like that were hysterical, and the way they set up the the stuff with the doctor and I don't know. It's funny. It's like it's just straight out an episode of something I could have seen straight out of my childhood, with the exception of the Marvel elements. But it's cool. Like, and at the end, okay, the next episode's going to be crazy. Like by the end of episode 3, you're like, all right, they can't just be coy with this anymore. Once Geraldine's launched through the series of walls and she finds herself outside of the bubble,
Sure.
okay, all right, the next episode is going to be crazy. Fun fact, by the way, we were watching episode 4 as a family, and Grandma had come over, and the first 3 episodes are episodes she would have loved, because they're all like familiar. Like, she was in the era of Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore and all these various shows that were kind of parodied, and they're like, oh, okay, well, I guess why don't you try watching a little bit of episode 4, and she lasted like maybe a minute and a half. She's like, what's happening? People are being reassembled, and she's just like, what is going on? I don't understand. We had to pause it like 3 times in the first 30 seconds to try to explain stuff, and then she's like, I'm nice to see you. I'm out of here. Like, the first 3 you would have loved. Sorry.
That's funny. One thing in this episode that was cool, odd, I don't know. It was the Vision skip that threw me off so much, where he comes in and he goes to sit down on the couch and he's like, I think something's going on. And then like it was just like this hard cut to him just standing back up, and I was like, did Disney Plus just skip? Like, because it was he was on the couch talking, and then like mid sentence he's just like up standing again, and I was like, wait a second, like what just happened? But then like it was a different conversation. I was like, okay, I think it was supposed to do that.
Yeah.
So that was a neat thing that really threw me off.
The editing in the first few episodes, like the censoring of certain conversations and things.
Yeah,
it was cool. Very clever.
In this episode, we got the Hydra Soak bath powder.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've used it. Very good.
Her time with Hydra. I'm not sure what would the bath part be referring to? I don't know.
Everybody bathes. It's nothing. There's no shame in it. Whether you're a man or a woman, so there's no wrong with enjoying a nice soak in the tub. I'm going to do that. I'm doing that right now. The lower half is completely submerged in a tub, and I am enjoying it.
So yeah, I mean, I liked this one. I don't think there was an episode that I disliked. I liked them all. I really liked this season. Spoilers. I enjoyed pretty much all of it. So then episode 4, we get a very big shift.
Yeah.
And so this is where we interrupt this program. And so now we're going over all the sword stuff. We start with Monica. Now, okay, so I have always read it Rambeau. But in the show, they call her Rambo. And it threw me off a lot. I was like, okay, is that how you're supposed to say it? Rambo? Like John Rambo. Like Sylvester Stallone Rambo. They call her Rambo. I've always said it as Rambo. You laugh at me like I'm crazy, Charlie. I'm saying it 2 different ways.
Mephisto.
Oh my god.
Rambo.
Yeah.
It's French. From the ramming tree. The Rambo. Rambo. What's wrong with Rambo?
Could be from like Louisiana.
So like first of all, John Rambo doesn't own the surname Rambo, okay?
But it's spelled differently. Rambo is spelled Rambeua. So Rambo.
Rambo, like Bo Bridges.
It's not John Rambo, that's Rambo. Rambo.
Right. Rambo.
No, Rambo and Rambo.
Technically Rambo would be like BOW, right?
No.
Because then you have like a ram and then a bow. because he'll hit you hard, but then he's gonna get you with the bow.
All right. Apparently, you didn't have this problem.
I did not have this problem. I didn't think twice about her name.
Oh.
You know, this isn't the first time they. Is this why you didn't like Captain Marvel? Was it because of the Rambo thing?
I don't remember them saying it. I feel like I need to go watch Captain Marvel again just to see how they said it in that movie. I don't think
they definitely went Rambo.
I don't think they said Rambo.
Went up. They bowed.
They probably said Rambo.
Rambo.
I don't think they said Rambo.
So is the only difference that you're going higher in the inflection? Like Rambo.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right. Rambo. All right, you can say it that way, and I'll allow it. Change your crew.
But everybody in the show said it Rambo.
Yeah, but okay. Is this going to be? Is this? Should we just cancel the rest? Should we just stop it? Do we need to end here?
All I'm saying is it threw me off because people kept saying it, and it's not what I was expecting. It's not what I was expecting.
You know, every now and then that happens to me with like author names where I've only read them and I'm saying them in my head one way for so long, and then someone, you know, the famous Olive Garden story with the soup where I messed up the name of the soup.
Pasta fajoule. Who would have known? It's pronounced fajoule.
Fajoule, yeah. I was like trying to sound real Italian, and I'm like, I'll have a bowl of the pasta fagioli. Yeah, one pasta fajoule, you mook.
I don't know. Let us know in the comments. Did it throw you off when they said Rambo?
I was a little disappointed that no one rolled the R. If we're just being nitpicky, Rambo. Like give it a flourish, people.
I don't know. So anyways,
Monica with a C.
So anyways, yes, it is with a C.
Yeah. Your wife spells Amy Aimee, so what do I know?
No, she does not.
Maybe that's mine then.
Spread those rumors. So we get what I thought was a really cool scene, and that which we hadn't seen before. We saw like some of it in Spider-Man: Far From Home of people coming back from the blip, but in Spider-Man it was just like, and they're back. And then this one, like they rematerialized, like the opposite way that they dematerialized from the snap. So I thought that was really neat. And then really just like the chaos that really would happen as like, you know, people are in hospitals and hospital beds and nobody knows what's happening. And, you know, you rematerialize next to a bed and there's somebody that's, you know, that wasn't there when you disappeared, you know. And a bummer finding out that her mom died. Like, like, you know, she got snapped 5 years ago and her mom died 3 years ago. And it was like, well, that really sucks.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
We get more explanation on Sword. So we get kind of the Sword facility. We get introduced to... What's the guy's name? Hawthorne? Hayward.
Vision.
Hayward. No, director.
Hayward.
Acting director Hayward.
I always thought it was Hayward, but you're saying Hayward. Is that going to...
No, they never...
I thought it was Hayward.
No, it's Hayward. That's how you pronounce that. Come on,
I always thought it was
Charlie.
like Hayward.
No.
Yes.
You're wrong.
All right.
Acting director Hayward. Just like it's...
Yeah, that guy was a douche.
Just like it's spelled.
Yeah,
that guy was a jerk. And so we get some background there. We find out that he's grounded Monica, and so he sends her on like some random missing person case or something like that. And that's where we get...
Little does he know.
Jimmy Woo busting out some of the magic that he learned in...
a little sleight of hand.
Yeah, that was fun.
See, little details, bro. Little details. The devil is in the details.
That's not the only place he is.
Mephisto.
We also get introduced to Darcy Lewis back after Thor 2.
Yeah.
Reintroduced. I guess they're all reintroduced. And so we get reintroduced to Darcy Lewis after Thor and Thor 2. which was fun because she was fun in those movies. Say what you will about the movies, not the best Marvel movies, but she was fun.
I think this is like one of the things that Marvel does really well, like with the side characters that have smaller parts, really still kind of giving them like enough of a dimension to their personalities and enough like of a well written like dialogue to make them interesting. Give them a chance, give the actors a chance, like likable actors a chance to shine a little bit. So you can kind of walk away going, yeah, they were great. They didn't have like a huge part. They didn't get a lot of screen time, but whenever they were on screen, they were really fun and enjoyable to watch. I'd watch a spin-off with the two of them.
Yeah. And so here we're introduced to them kind of figuring out that all this stuff is in TV shows. So that was fun.
She figured out very quick. Amy, she's like, wait, I missed it. How did she find the signal? I'm like, oh, they're not going to tell us that. She just found it right away. Don't worry. Give it a second. And then she's like, and here it did it. And she's trying to explain how she did it. She did it very fast. She sat down. She's like, looks like a TV signal. Give me a television. Here we go.
An old television. An old television.
Yeah. It's got to be an old-timey television.
And somehow it's the CMBR radiation that, everybody understands.
And I don't mind that, by the way. Like, that stuff is, necessary to move plots along. Like, you don't have to give me a lot of exposition on that. Just let the magic happen. It's fine. She found it really quick. Good.
But no, I
find it for a half hour. I don't.
I really liked this episode. I thought that this was the right place for it after 3 episodes of Wanda. When you are really in the dark about a lot of this stuff, to then kind of pull back and see kind of what's going on elsewhere. We get some more explanations on SHIELD, on Monica, now that we know that it's in a TV show and it's being broadcast and Wanda's doing something. And so I thought this was a really good episode. I really enjoyed this one. So then we move on to episode 5 on a very special episode. And so now we're moving into the 80s. So it's like the Family Ties, Full House type stuff. I said this one had a great intro. I really liked the intro to this. We have the kids now, and they're they start out as babies, then they're rapidly aging, and
which is another great staple of the sitcom genre. Whether you're watching Modern Family or the Growing Pains or any show that has a baby, and then all of a sudden a couple episodes later they're 9 or 10. Hello.
Yeah, they're walking around and talking. So this one we saw. Kind of the start of of Vision kind of continuing to question stuff, with the culmination of them really almost coming to blows, which was really interesting. And then the big thing was the knock at the door, which ended up being Quicksilver, but it got recast as the Evan Peters Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men movies, which then didn't end up being Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men movies. And so let me just tell you,
do you think that was a mistake? Do you think that was a mistake on their part?
I don't know. Because this blew my mind. Amy and I finished this episode and I was like, oh my goodness, what does this mean? And I'm watching my analysis videos and everybody is like, oh my goodness, is this how they are folding in the X-Men? Is this how are they folding in the X-Men universe, the Fox verse with this verse? All this stuff. This blew my mind. And then it wasn't. So I don't know. It's a really odd choice to do that and then not have it be Quicksilver. I don't know. I'm still kind of thrown for the loop, and I'm kind of asking but why? Are you just messing with the fans? Yeah, they had to have known. They had to know that this was going to cause some major people to freak out.
Sure.
What were your thoughts when you saw Evan Peters Quicksilver?
Look, if I'm being honest, I I didn't read as deeply into it as you did, and maybe that's just because I didn't have as much time to live with it. I thought it was a joke, like I thought it was a funny joke, and then like a wink and a nod. That was my interpretation of it. And I thought, like there was moments where I'm like, well, maybe they'll do something grander from it. But at this point, I was pretty sure I kind of had a handle on what was happening, and that everything was kind of like, that this was kind of all Wanda's doing and things. So it didn't seem to me that he was going to be actually from some parallel dimension. At this point, that just didn't seem like the direction things were headed. So I just kind of thought it was like a wink, wink, and a nudge, nudge. And I was like, oh, maybe it'll be more, but I thought it was fun. I laughed and I thought, okay, that's cool, like neat. They're doing yet another like a little detail that that some people who maybe never even seen the other the X-Men and stuff, maybe they had no idea. So I thought it was kind of a fun little nod. I can understand like
they got me hard.
Once I finished the series. Once I finished and I started looking online and stuff, just because I've been avoiding it, and people were upset. It's like, okay, I can see how people, especially with like a week in between, were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, it's happening, and then to have that a full week of build up and then to come back and be like, oh, okay, no, all right, I can understand that.
Yeah, so
and I probably would have been. By the way, I probably would have been sucked in because I probably would have started looking online and then reading other people saying it's going down. I probably would have been like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, let's do this. It's happening. But yeah, for me, I was just like, oh, that's funny. That's good.
No, they got me hard with that one. So this was also the episode that we got the 80s drone sent in so that Wanda could grab it and walk out of the hex and throw it down and pretty much be like, leave me alone. Which we got her accent back, which was interesting. And then we now know that she is in control of this, that this really is, all her. And she can go in and out of this thing as she wants. And yeah, so this episode opened up probably more stuff and more questions for me than any other episode.
Sure.
But yeah, so this was good. Episode 6, so the Halloween spooktacular one. Probably my most anticipated episode. Because we had the Quicksilver stuff, and then we also had like the awesome costumes where everybody was dressing in their comic book costumes.
Yeah.
Which I'm a sucker for.
When I saw it, I thought of you. I was like, oh, Brody's probably
like
Brody's smiling.
Vision dressed up as old 80s Vision was just a gem. So this one we had lots of stuff on this one. We had all the conversations between Wanda and Pietro. We had, like, where's your accent? Well, where's your accent? And what do you remember? Well, I remember getting shot in the street like a chump. Now, for me, yes, the Age of Ultron Quicksilver got shot in the street, but my mind was immediately like, he got blasted by Dark Phoenix in the Dark Phoenix movie. So he's talking about the Dark Phoenix movie. They want you to think that he's talking about the Age of Ultron Phoenix, but he's actually, or the Age of Ultron Quicksilver, but he's actually talking about the Dark Phoenix Quicksilver. And I went back and I rewatched the scene in Dark Phoenix, and that movie is so bad. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, he's got memories. He knows that he's from like this alternate universe. No, he was just talking about Age of Ultron. We also got all the Vision stuff where Vision is kind of wandering around. We see people like stuck in a loop outside of like the main town. We got Vision talking to Agnes as she's like just sitting in her car, and she's talking about like, you're an Avenger and you're dead and all this stuff. And so Vision goes through the hex wall, and that's when he starts to like die. And then at the end of the episode, Wanda pushes the hex out further, and we see all this stuff transform, all the sword stuff transform into circus stuff, which was really neat. I really liked this episode. All the comic accurate stuff was just so fun. And it looked super cheesy. The Quicksilver costume was super cheesy. The way that they did his hair was just ridiculous, But I loved this episode. How about you, Charlie?
Yeah, it was good, and you're starting to get like a sense of the darkness that's within.
Mm-hmm.
You're seeing like these different sitcom styles that you're kind of rolling through, and it's all very fun and whimsical. And then you're starting to see like the woman with like the little tear coming down her cheek,
she's crying, and
you start to, oh my gosh, like these are real people, and they're feeling like real pain. And like it's pretty dark, like for Marvel stuff, like, oh, okay, like they're not holding back, and the Wanda's, whatever, what she's going through and what she's doing here is having like this real toll on the people that live in this town. I thought that was really like an interesting kind of like path that they kind of started locking us down.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah, it was really sad. Also, this also had a really funny intro. It just brought me back to the 90s of like the squiggle fonts and really rapid movements. And
Did you watch Malcolm in the Middle at all?
I never did. But just,
it's a good show.
The fonts and things like that, were very, very 90s.
And the Office intro.
That's coming in the next one. So that's
the next one. Okay,
that's breaking the fourth wall. So this
was the Malcolm Middle intro.
Yeah. The breaking the fourth wall was the like Office intro, and really kind of the Modern Family type of show.
Yeah. Arrested Development, like the Parks and Rec.
Yeah, where all of a sudden like they're sitting down and talking to the camera. This. All of the episodes were really well done. I thought for whatever reason, like this. Whoa, you okay there?
Yeah, sorry, I just kicked my tray.
This episode, like the way that they built all of this stuff and the way that they talked to the cameras was so well done. Like it looked just like a Modern Family episode. Like
even the music in the background, it was
like
great.
The music, the way that they talked to the cameras, the acting that Elizabeth Olsen was doing, it was like spot on. And I haven't watched like all of Modern Family, but I've seen enough that I was like, man, this is really good.
And that's how it was, bro, for those other shows that you haven't seen. So it's that same feeling you could have had if you had, as me, as a child, indulged in the Dick Van Dykes and Bewitched and I Love Lucy's and Brady Bunches.
I watched I Love Lucy, and I watched a little Bewitched.
Malcolm in the Middles. Even down to her hairstyles, by the way, her hairstylist was on point. Like in each of the different episodes, her hair looked fantastic, and
all the wardrobe
really
stuff
matched the style.
Yeah, all the wardrobe stuff was so good.
Spot on.
That's what $25 million an episode will get you.
Right? Get you good looking hair and a nice set of clothes.
So this episode was one of the big ones where the big end hook of the episode was Wanda making her way down to the basement of Agnes's place after some really creepy stuff of like cicadas being in Agnes's house. Agnes had a very dark house, like a lot of dark colors, for like the Vision Wanda house being whites and blues and stuff like that. Agnes had a really dark house, and then she had cicadas, and she had the rabbit that's just been around, Mr. Scratchy. But she makes her way down to the basement, and so that's when we get the reveal that Agnes is actually Agatha Harkness, who was an actual comic book character from the West Coast Avengers back in the day. I remember reading that stuff. And it that really felt like, okay, we're coming to kind of the climax of all this stuff. We see that. Was it this episode that we got the it was Agnes all along? Or was it the next episode?
No, it's this episode.
Okay.
Because she does like the reveal, and then they do the song, which is just hilarious.
Yeah, like total like Munsters, type of stuff where you just see all this
treasure.
All this stuff that she's done, throughout all of the episodes, which was great. Which was great. Yeah. Also, that song is on Spotify, and it's.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
That's funny.
But yeah, this was another really, really solid episode. I really liked this one as well. How about you? How'd you feel about this one?
I agree with everything you said. Loved it. And this will be my first complaint that I will level at this series and at Disney Plus. Marvel, stop making your credit sequences so long and then slipping something in at the end of the credits, especially if you have not done it for 6 episodes.
Sure.
I had no idea, because on Disney Plus, it's literally 7 minutes of credits. And because I'm watching on my PS4, which I know, it's not like a PS5, it's an outdated thing. But if you try to fast forward a little bit, the scrubbing picture that it shows you, which by the way, it didn't up until like a month ago, even show you a picture of what you're fast forwarding. So if I wanted to find an end credit scene, I'd like fast forward 15 to 20 seconds, click, 15, 20 seconds, click. I mean, it's just, it's 2021, people. Like, what are we doing here? Why are we still putting post-credit scenes here? I had no idea that scene, and so all of a sudden, they're showing the recap in the next episode, and they show Rambeau has been kidnapped.
Snooper's gonna
wait,
snoop,
what?
Man.
What was that? Like, I didn't see that, and I was like, okay, I must have just missed it. And then in the next episode, there's another vision, and I didn't see that either because it was another post-credit scene. So then I had to go back and I had to like sift through 7 minutes of credits to like find the right spot, but I couldn't do it through scrubbing because the picture's like a minute and a half behind. Oh my gosh, it was so irritating. And I'm sure I'm the only person in the entire world that had trouble with the end credit scenes in these, but come on, people. For us outdated PS4 watchers, can we please come up with a better system? Maybe like a skip to end credits button or a warning end credits scene in 2.5 minutes approaching. Something. What? Can we just let go of the end credits scene? Marvel, can we do that? Can we let go of the end
Charlie,
credits? You like end credit scenes.
You just need to be watching the credits. Those people worked hard on that show.
They don't want me watching this. They don't want to know. I want to know that I'm not watching who the best boy and the key grip are. I'm sure they're lovely people, but
they deserve it. Watch the credits.
Look, I'm maintaining a delicate balance of information in my head, and the addition of new information pushes old information out at this point. There's no more room for anything. The hard drive is full. So to add, I need to delete. And when I watch credits and I'm looking at people's names, that I'm losing years of my childhood are going. I keep looking at my kids' math, and I'm like, okay, I've lost some of this, and it's because I've had to watch credit sequences. Now I don't know math anymore. They're changing math anyway. It's new math. I don't understand parts of it because I've had to delete information from the old hard drive because I had to watch credit sequences in hopes of finding a post-credit scene. And then they duped me on the finale because there was 2, and one was like at the end of the 7 minutes, and I missed that completely. And then read about it online, and I'm like, wait, what? There was another one? Are you kidding me? I was angry for no reason. So that's my biggest biggest complaint. But Teyonah Parris, by the way, fantastic actress. I thought she, I think she was one of the big revelations for this. I'm excited for more of her in the universe. Are you going to talk about her the possibilities for her character upcoming, Brody? You're my resident prognosticator.
Who are you talking about?
Teyonah Parris, Monica Rambeau.
Oh, Teyonah Parris. I heard Tina Ferris, and I was like, Tina Ferris? Like,
Tayona.
No, Tiana.
Tiana. Okay.
Yeah.
This is I haven't heard it out loud, so but she's great. She was fantastic.
She is good.
Give me more Rambo.
She is good, and we got.
Rambo.
Let's see. It was breaking the fourth wall, so that was the episode that she. So I guess I kind of skipped all this and all this stuff. She kind of like contacted her engineer friend to make up this thing. That was another big thing. Everybody's like, "Who's the engineer? Is it Reed Richards?" And I was like, "Probably not Reed Richards, but maybe it'll be somebody cool." And then it wasn't. Nope. It was just like a friend.
I'm sure they're nice. See, I'm sure they're nice people, but you build your hopes up, Brody.
I know. I did. I knew it wouldn't be Reed Richards. They're not going to introduce Reed Richards. You know, they haven't announced anything. That's a big announcement. And so she had this like moon rover thing that she tried to get in, which was a cool effect when it like transformed halfway. I thought that was really neat.
Right.
But then she just pushed her way through the thing, and she had all the voices. We heard some Captain Marvel, we heard some of her mom, and then she was able to come back into the hex, and it was mentioned in a previous episode that it's kind of changing her DNA as she's kind of gone through the hex multiple times. And so she comes through and her eyes are lit up and she can kind of see like the electromagnetic spectrum and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Just cool. Kind of getting her into the photon character that she is in the comics, you know, and her eyes changed colors multiple times throughout, you know, sometimes it was blue, sometimes it was yellow. And so I'm really curious to see like what they are making her. There's also a lot of talk of, you know, is she a mutant now, or are these just a different sort of power? You know, are these more like a Captain Marvel type power since Wanda's powers are due to or were activated from an Infinity Stone? You know, is it somehow related to that? Or did Wanda's powers and the hex kind of activate something that she already had in her with
like
genes,
dormant
kind of,
inside of her and bring it out?
You know, so we'll see. And we don't get that answer. And so we'll see, you know, if this is kind of how things are led into mutants or not. We don't know. But yeah, I thought that I enjoyed Rambo.
Say it with a flourish.
Like Rambo. See, you have to go up if you roll the R. You can't say Rambo. That doesn't.
Rambo.
No, that doesn't work. You have to go Rambo.
Okay. Rambo. I don't mind going up. If you're gonna roll the R, I don't mind going up. And I bet she wouldn't mind either.
All right. Hey, you know what? As a talk punch thing, we'll call her Rambo.
Rambo. I like it. Change approved.
There we go. Okay, so yeah, so Rambo was good throughout the whole thing.
Yeah,
you know, I'm excited. You know, it seems like they're setting her up a lot to kind of be a bigger part in the MCU going forward. You know, she'll probably have a part in Captain Marvel too.
Yeah,
she might have a part.
Is that filming yet or no?
No. I know there's a Disney Plus series that's The Secret Invasion that she could be involved with since she has involvement with Skrulls. You know, they kind of mention calling her up. You know, so is that involvement with? I'm assuming more Skrulls and maybe Nick Fury. We'll see.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We'll see.
So at the end of Breaking the Fourth Wall episode, we get Snooper's Gonna Snoop. We get the revelation of Agatha. And then the next episode, then we get onto the previously. And so then that's really the walkthrough of Wanda's history. And so that's when we find out that Wanda is the Scarlet Witch. And it's something that, it's like a title. And there's something special with the Scarlet Witch. And so it was something that she already had inside of her that was then activated You know, it would have been dormant, but then the Infinity Stone activated something inside of her to bring out the chaos magic. And so this one we got the chaos magic name drop, we got the Scarlet Witch name drop, we got just like all this stuff. It's crazy. We get like the view in her eye of Wanda with the crown and stuff like that. So this was a neat episode. We got backstory on Agatha, that she was from the Salem witch trials, and it was kind of her own coven that turned against her. This was another really neat episode that was a step away from the kind of WandaVision stuff to really kind of flesh stuff out. And it fleshed out Wanda really well. I mean, for a character that's you know, kind of been there for a while now, you know, in all the Avengers movies since Age of Ultron, she's been there. And we got a lot of backstory in this episode. So that's exciting. That was exciting. We also had the White Vision reveal that, you know, Wanda did not steal Vision's body from the sword facility, that she kind of went to the house that she and Vision were going to build together, and she kind of created everything on her own. And so then it was revealed that Sword, I keep wanting to call it Shield, Sword had Vision's body and was creating the White Vision, which was exciting for me as somebody who read West Coast Avengers back in the day. White Vision. And played the old video game, the old Avengers video game. He was White Vision in that video game. Do you remember that one, Charlie?
Was that the dungeon crawler? Where you're like just switching between heroes and punching and kicking things?
Yeah. Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
But yeah.
I like those games.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But yeah, so this
is great.
Another really solid episode.
Like you and I have talked a lot over the past year about, you know, storytelling and movies versus television and streaming versus theater. And one of the big conversations that we've had is just like the flexibility that television gives you in terms of like the detail of a story or a character that you can tell, like the creativity, like the tone shifts in this series, like throughout these 9 episodes, are tremendous, and not something that you could do in a feature-length film and pull off. Like, this would not have worked as a movie. And you know, I hate origin stories. You know, I just hate it. I hate it in movies. I don't like origin stories. I don't like these endless, unnecessary flashbacks and brooding characters talking about their pain and angst. And I don't need to see it. But to have like the way that they did that in this episode was just fantastic. And to see, you know, that really, like, WandaVision is really the story of like love and loss and grief and different, like, you know, how we cope and how grief can just be so overwhelming and so consuming. And in the case of Wanda with her powers, you know, dangerous in the way that it presents itself, and you know, television and movies and all this pop culture stuff can be such a great escape for pain and grief. And it was just like on a very personal level, you know, it's nice when they offer, you know, they have these otherworldly powers in these characters. It's really nice when you get these like moments where, oh, I can relate to that. Like sitting on the bed and just heartbroken and popping in like a DVD of a television show that just makes you feel for a moment like just connected to the world and safe and something to laugh about, or just to kind of disappear into for a while. I've done that. I've been that. And so in this crazy world of like eccentric billionaires and an endless array of science and powers and gods, and to have these like little moments like that where you're like, oh my gosh, like I just feel that so much. That's that beautiful scene between Vision and Wanda sitting in the bed, and the idea of you know, love and pain and loss and grief. I just thought it was like really powerful and so quick and so brief. Well, I just thought it was really like meaningful and like really kind of put a nice like perspective on the rest of the show and how Wanda's working through this and the kind of pain that she's been carrying with her through these tremendous losses that she's felt. So I just thought it was really a nice setup for the finale and a really cool episode. And my favorite, I think, like origin story that I've seen presented in any superhero television show movie. Those are my favorite way that someone's done it so far.
Yeah, I think we wouldn't get this in a movie. We wouldn't get 25 minutes of backstory for Wanda in a movie like we got here. So, yeah, that's one of the big benefits of having a show format like this. So, whoop, whoop. Okay.
Ollie, Brody?
Now, it's interesting. The title of this episode is the series finale. Now, it's not called the season finale. It's called the series finale. Now, they haven't announced, if there's going to be a season 2 of WandaVision or not. I don't know if titling this the series finale is any sort of indication of that. But I don't know. And so this is kind of the big end battle. Agatha has the kids, and Scarlet Witch is kind of faced with, okay, you actually are like a witch, you're not just a hero, and they have a big battle. We get Vision versus Vision, White Vision versus Scarlet Vision. We get the kids, we get Monica Rambo fighting with Ralph Boner, who is Quicksilver. It's a callback. It's a callback.
Was it the most disappointing thing that it just ended up he was in there for a boner joke? Just like that was the only reason they had him in the show. Do you remember? Did you watch Growing Pains?
Yeah.
I always thought that was so weird.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, it's just the buddy named Boner.
It's very strange.
I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it didn't mean that at the time. I don't know. So this was, the bulk of this episode was big battles. And that's kind of the criticism that I've heard with this. Sure. Of more than any other episode, is that it comes down to another CGI battle.
Right.
I liked the way that they did it. I didn't have a problem with it. I liked the way that Wanda was able to use what Agatha had already kind of mentioned of having the runes, and that, another witch can't use their power. I really liked the Vision versus Vision conversation with
that was cool.
The ship of Theseus. That's how you say that, right? Theseus?
Yeah. You got to go up with it. Thesis?
Okay, so who is the real Vision? And is there a real Vision at this point if he's been rebuilt so many times, And so I thought that was a really neat thing. Paul Bettany, man, with leading up to this, he's been saying there's still a cameo coming, an actor I've always wanted to work with my entire career. And then it ends up being himself. And people have been analyzing and thinking about I have watched complete videos on who this person could be. Who has he not worked with? Who, oh my goodness, it's been so much. And it ends up being himself. And it's Paul Bettany. Oh, Paul Bettany.
What a twist.
What a twist. You're talking about yourself. You've always wanted to work with yourself. Stinking. But I loved it. I loved the reveal of her Scarlet Witch costume.
That was cool.
Since watching her in Age of Ultron, with having some red and some black, and she was wearing a skirt or she was wearing a leather jacket, and this and that, and it's what would a real Scarlet Witch costume look like? And so we get the hair, the crown thing, which I thought looked super. I thought the whole costume was awesome. I loved it. Yeah. Honestly, I'm watching it and I'm just I can't believe I'm actually watching Scarlet Witch. It was so cool to be able to watch that and know that that's the Scarlet Witch and that I'm watching her in her comic, for the most part, comic costume. It was really neat for me. I've had those moments a couple times with Marvel or DC or something like that, where it's oh man, I'm watching what I read when I was, 10 years old. And so having that was really cool for me.
Yeah.
How about you?
This was, yeah, I can understand why people would, kind of devolve, not, I shouldn't say devolve, but it turned into just a very Marvel finish,
Sure.
like the superpowers on display. It had, moments of levity where you see the boots under the car, you get moments of bad guys being bad guys, with the jerky Hayward coming in there and shooting bullets at kids, and you kind of get a nice little wrap up here.
He did totally shoot at 2 kids.
Shot at 2 kids.
And shot right between them. Like,
just in case you were wondering, is he sort of a good guy? No, he is not. And so, removing any doubt, it sets up things nicely, I think, for Phase 4. I'm excited for what's coming. This is a character that Elizabeth Olsen was fantastic in the series. I thought she was really great. And when she was in Age of Ultron, and I don't know if it was the accent or the writing or the fact that, I admit, maybe a little prejudice on my part because her last name was Olsen, and my wife was a huge Mary-Kate fan, hated Ashley, and when she would watch Full House, she could always tell which baby was in, and she would get visibly angry when it was
really.
She says, "Oh, that's Ashley. That's Ashley," and she would get really angry, even as a child, 'cause she could tell. But love Mary-Kate.
Huh.
No, I'm making it up. But the idea, so I don't know. I was not impressed, and not that she needed to impress me, but it was just they kind of tossed the character in, her and Quicksilver, and just kind of okay, they're all right. They're doing the mind control thing, and they're kind of foils, and then they just didn't really give her a lot of depth. I think most of the problem with characters in these big movies when they get introduced is you just don't really. There's nothing really. They're flat. They're one-dimensional. So it's so nice to see her get a chance to really flex some acting chops, and she just crushed it. And whether it's subtle things, she does this little this nose crinkle that I cannot do. She crinkles at this, almost Bewitched style, and she just did it throughout the series of different moments when she's smiling. Even at the end, she's looking at Agnes, and she's I'll know right where to find you, and she makes the little. And it's just these little subtle things that she put into the character that I just thought were so good. And Paul Bettany I've always liked him.
He's so great. He's so
way
great
back in A Knight's Tale and on. He's and no one can yell. Somehow the British accent, by the way, you can just say the most ridiculous things, and and just it sounds so. I don't know if people in the UK feel this way, but just that accent for you can yell whatever you want, and it sounds very compelling. So it's just something about Paul Bettany and the whole cast was just so good. All the extras. We talked a little bit about Randall Park, who played Jimmy Woo, and just everyone was great. So I liked all of that. I can understand it didn't lead anywhere big. At the end, the show kind of unfolded kind of the way that you would expect it to unfold, and I can understand why people might be a little disappointed with that it didn't take you somewhere new. It didn't crack it, and it wasn't meant to. It wasn't even supposed to be the first, like you were talking about at the beginning. It wasn't even supposed to be this introduction to Phase 4, so it wasn't supposed to crack the lid open on this thing. But I thought it was really good. Comic books make great TV shows because it's a run of an issue.
Yeah,
right. So it's like
a trade paperback.
9 issues.
Yeah.
And then you're done. And I would be shocked if they went back to WandaVision again for another season. I shouldn't say shocked, but what would you do? You couldn't do the sitcom thing anymore.
I don't know.
So maybe you revisit the characters in a TV format, but this was I think a really special way that they told the story, and it was really a really neat storytelling mechanism. What do you think of the end, where she's in her little bubble and she's reading and?
So
Doctor Strange style.
I loved that. I think after the hex kind of came back in, she lost her kids, she lost her vision, and she is just kind of walking through the town of these people that she tortured, and they're just kind of looking at her. It was like, oh, that's awkward.
How brave, by the way, are these townspeople? You know, if you've been under the spell of this like all powerful being, and then you were finally released, you're gonna like mad dog her as she walks to the street, be like,
I was surprised that she walked that direction. I was like, you could have walked the other direction and just not gone through like the center of town where everybody
I'd be out of there
is.
so fast. Like, I'm free.
And you could fly. You could just take off straight from there. Nobody has to see you. But yeah. But yeah. So then we kind of got a nice shot, going to a cabin that's just kind of isolated, and she's kind of doing her own thing. And then we see her astral projection reading the Darkhold, the book that Agnes had and was reading, that we've seen many times in, like, I guess it's non-canon anymore. It was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think it was in like the Runaways show. So I guess this is now the real Darkhold. But I think that's really interesting. And I think that, we got the Sorcerer Supreme kind of name drop from Agnes, that
right.
Her powers are even greater than the Sorcerer Supreme. And so if this is all going to tie into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, like, all of a sudden that has shot up as like my most anticipated movie. Because if we're going to get like a bad guy Scarlet Witch, or really anything, we know that Elizabeth Olsen is in that movie. To what capacity, I don't know. And now it's funny, that movie is getting directed by Sam Raimi, and the shot coming in through the mountains to the cabin was all one shot, and it was pretty like Evil Dead. It's just like the tracking shot where you're going in, you're going through the cabin. It's like, okay, all right, is this leading to a Sam Raimi Multiverse of Madness? So I'm super excited for what
and that makes sense,
for
right?
what
It's got to lead into that, because that's when it was supposed to be kind of connected closer to the release of that movie, right?
I think so. I don't know the release date of that.
Certainly would have been closer to it than if Falcon had come first. And
yeah. They didn't shift the date for.
Oh, I guess they just moved. That one
everything
back.
Else got pushed back.
Yeah, that's fair. What the voices yelling help? Her twin sons? What do you think that's about?
Yeah, I think it's her kids. I think that
are they just trapped in a.
Well, I mean, so in the comics, the kids were a projection of Mephisto. They were pieces of Mephisto's soul, and all of that was a way to use Scarlet Witch's powers. And so that was one of the big things with people thinking it was Mephisto also, was this whole story was very like Vision Quest, West Coast Avengers, pulling right from that, which had a big involvement by Mephisto. And so, are they trapped someplace? Are they going to have to battle Mephisto for the kids? Does Mephisto have the kids? Is Mephisto involved at all? I don't know. The kids are obviously alive someplace. So she created them inside the hex, and somehow they are continuing to live because they're calling out for help. So
which is good, because the children dissolving was pretty dark. The children just dissolving and ceasing to exist was pretty dark. So,
well, yeah,
God, and that scene where Vision's like, and it's just his face left, and they're saying goodbye. Whew.
I know, it's a bummer.
Yeah, that was touching.
So I'm really excited. I really, really liked this series. I think this would be a series that I would even probably like to watch again, and maybe do a binge of just like a back-to-back. And now, knowing what I know, see what it's like to go through a second time and just pick stuff out and see what I can notice a second go-around.
Second time around.
So, how about you? What are kind of your overall thoughts on this season? of
look,
WandaVision.
I've been excited for this phase, like where they're going to be doing more television stuff. I think it's such a great way to like give more depth to some of the storytelling, and I'm really excited to see more of that. This was the one I was really sure I was going to like. It looked quirky and different, and I was really like, I wanted that, and so this really delivered for the most part. On my expectations. And I'm curious to see if like Falcon's just like a real straightforward like Winter Soldier and Falcon or Falcon Winter Soldier, if that's just a real straightforward like Civil War-esque
buddy cop
kind of like action drama, or if they go more buddy cop and make it funny. Like I'm not really sure what to expect from that. Have you kind of read, not spoilers necessary, but like
not much. I mean, I've seen the trailers and stuff like that, but that's kind of it. I'm excited that they're bringing Baron Zemo back. I'm excited that they're giving him his comic book hood.
Do you just like the name Baron? Is that just
why?
Baron von Strucker, and
when I was a kid, when I was probably like 4 years old, I had a Baron Zemo action figure, and I thought he looked so cool. So I've always had a special place in my heart for Baron Zemo. But yeah, so I haven't watched a whole lot as far as, or read a whole lot on Falcon Winter Soldier. We'll see. I don't know. You're frozen, like very frozen. Sometimes you freeze for a couple seconds or so, but you're very frozen right now. So, I don't know if he's coming back, folks. He may be gone. So I guess I will wrap us up then. So, let us know in the comments what you thought about, oh, there I am. That means he's gone. Let us know in the comments, folks, what you thought of WandaVision. Do you want a second season? Do you want to see this continue? Should it just go right into the movies? Do we want more TV here? Just kind of like the inception of Brody there. So let us know. While you're at it, go ahead and like, subscribe. We'll talk to you later. Adios!